Hello, Dr. Lee. How are you?
I am well. How are you, Stephanie?
Great, thank you. Today we wanted to ask you a few questions and we would love to know more about MiTio and yourself.
Wonderful.
All right, so let's get started. If you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your life or in your business.
Sure. So I'm Dr. Nelva Lee. I am the CEO and founder of MiTio, MiTio Inc. It was previously an LLC under the name of the Medical Interpreting and Translating Institute Online. And we founded it in 2004. And at the time, prior to me founding MiTio, I was the director of patient advocacy at the Grady Health System, which is a large public health system here in Georgia, in Atlanta specifically. And as the director of patient advocacy, one of the programs under me in that program was interpreting services. And at the time, back in the early 2000s, a lot of hospitals did not qualify, nor did they train their interpreters. And we were one of the first to do that. And by qualifying our interpreters, we mean that we made sure that they were in fact fluent in English and in the target language that they claim to speak by testing them for that language. And then as far as training, we provided them the minimum training at the time. And we were the first ones. We were the flagship healthcare organization to do that. It was a bit of a growing pains and learning how to get that done. And because of all the challenges that we had to go through and work through to get that accomplished throughout the entire health system, once we completed that, I wanted to be able to bring that to other healthcare organizations. So I went to the CEO of Grady at the time and said, hey, can we develop a program where we can help other healthcare organizations have the same success in this area? He did not think that was specifically a mission that Grady should do. So I launched MiTio. That was the brainchild of MiTio. And since then, I have been very passionate about advancing not just qualification and training for bilingual individuals to become medical interpreters, but since then we have expanded into court interpreting as well. But I was instrumental in pushing forward the certification process. I was the first chair of the National Board of Certification for Medical Interpreters. So I'm very passionate about this field. I am very passionate about MiTio, and I look forward to sharing a little bit more about MiTio's future with you.
Great. And about how long have you been in the industry?
So healthcare since I was a teenager, but specifically for medical interpreting since the early 2000s when I was at Grady Health System. Now I'm personally bilingual, so I'm from Panama originally, and I don't know if you can see my molas in the back there. Molas are from the indigenous people of Panama, the Kuna Indians. And so that's where the logo, the MiTio logo comes from, is from the mola. And so, yeah, I'm very passionate about languages. I speak Spanish fluently, and I speak French conversationally. And I just love hearing languages. And I believe languages and culture are so intertwined. And so anything to advance language and language fluency and helping our limited English proficient patients, I'm up for that.
Great. And what would you say is your mission statement for MiTio?
So I would love to share a screen, if you don't mind. Share my screen with our mission statement. Specifically, I have it. So let's see here. So the mission of MiTio is to provide the most effective training for language communication of all industries with the necessary systems to apply this effectively through expanding our Interpreting and Translating Institute into a language and communication institute, while also creating application technologies to facilitate language communication at a higher level.
Great. That is really great.
Thank
Um,
you.
and can you go over what products and services does MiTio provide?
Sure. So we started off obviously with the training of medical interpreters. So we provide a beginner, intermediate, and advanced interpreter training. But we also provide the tools for medical interpreters to be successful. So we provide medical terminology course, both beginner and advanced, an anatomy and physiology course, both beginner and advanced, an interpreting skills course that's very comprehensive. It goes over note-taking skills, memorization skills, fluency skills, consecutive interpreting, simultaneous interpreting, all of that. And then we also have an entire core interpreting um, courses as well. In beginner, intermediate, and advanced core interpreting courses, translating courses, right? Because interpreting is oral, translating is written, and so it's a completely different skill set. So we have translating courses, beginner, intermediate, and advanced translating courses. And then we also have courses that support kind of the other in areas in medical interpreting, specifically mental health interpreting, phone and video interpreting courses as well. Now, for those that are our alumni, they can also apply to work for MiTio. We have an agency where we actually provide the services directly to clients. And we have several clients all across the nation that require our services, and our interpreting services platform, which is amazing, allows our clients to connect within 20 seconds or less to our qualified trained interpreters in over 200 languages. And so it's amazing. So we offer that service, and we also offer translation and localization services as well.
This all sounds amazing. And okay, so what made you choose your company's location for it to be virtually?
Right. So at the time that I developed MiTio, there were a few courses that people could take, and they were very, I would say in Massachusetts, Washington State, a few in California, here and there. But for the majority of people, it was very difficult for them to get to any courses. And say you lived in California and there was a course, say 2 or 3 hours away from you, that was still difficult, right, to get to. And so, yeah, so in the early 2000s, online was really the solution to be able to reach the majority of students, because the training programs, face-to-face training programs, just were not very plentiful. And we were able to work through a lot of the challenges that an online program faces, right? So the whole idea of community building. So we've been able to do that beautifully through our discussion boards, through our live sessions, through our Facebook community. So we're able to build community that way. And I mentioned the live sessions because practice sessions are so important for new interpreters. They need to be able to really get the scenarios, how to do the proper interpreting standards. It requires, especially for consecutive interpreting, it requires a certain cadence, and they learn all of that in a live setting. And so that is why we offer over 15 live sessions every week. So our students have a lot of opportunities with trained, qualified, certified interpreters, that they're able to practice different medical scenarios, different court scenarios if they're a court interpreter, but they're able to learn all of those nuances of what it takes to be an actual interpreter in a live setting. So we do those via Zoom every single day. We have 2 or 3 sessions every day for our students to be able to participate in those.
That is wonderful and extremely important in
Yes,
perfecting their new career.
exactly.
What would you say are MiTio's goals?
Right. So our goals are specifically to just advance interpreting and interpreting language. And I'm going to share another. Let's see if I can pull up our. Give me 1 second. So our vision is our purpose is to solve the lack of effective language communication by giving bilinguals the training that they need to excel in every industry and create the interpreting and translating systems necessary to allow for effective language communication throughout all of humanity. So that is a very big vision, but we are on track to accomplishing that. And I would say that one of our new developments that's coming very soon, so you guys are the first to hear it, is that we have a mobile app that's in development right now. And this app is going to be able to integrate translation, interpretation, closed captioning, transcripts all in one. And it's going to be an inexpensive and intuitive app, and that the end user is going to be able to have a seamless experience in their interpretation and translating needs.
That is so exciting. I'm blown away. Like that is so cool. All right. I can't contain it.
Well, that makes two of us. I'm excited as well.
How does MiTio compare to competitors in the market?
Right. So one of the things that we found is that the bare minimum, right, to apply for certification is a 40-hour course. But for those of us that are in the industry, we know that that's a bare minimum is not cutting it. And so we feel here with MiTio that quality is so important. Remember, we wanted to advance training before that was okay. And so before that was a cool thing to do. And we wanted to advance certification before that was even a requirement for many places. And we want to advance fully comprehensive education as well. And so one of the things that differentiates us from our competitors is that we provide a diploma program versus just a minimum 40-hour course. And even we don't provide minimum 40-hour courses for anyone. Even those that are in the healthcare industry for at least 3 years, they can do the 60-hour certificate course. They're eligible to do that. But for anyone that does not have any training or any experience in healthcare or interpreting, they have to do our diploma program. And the reason for that is that we want them, upon completion of our program, to know that they're ready to be interpreters. Medical interpreting is such a high stress job because you're right there with a patient who has a very life and death, oftentimes issue, health issue. You're right there with a healthcare professional that has trained for at least 4 years if they're a nurse, or 10 years if they're a doctor. And you're not going to throw someone in there in that setting that's only had 40 hours of training. You're not going to do that. It's unfair to them to do that. And that's why we stand so strongly behind our comprehensive 160-hour program. In our diploma program, it includes the 4 courses that I mentioned earlier, the medical interpreting and beginner, intermediate, and advanced. It also includes medical terminology 1 and 2, and it includes that skills course that I mentioned. And we also provide our students with the free language testing. So we set ourselves apart from others in that we believe that when someone goes through our program, they should get as much training and as much preparation as possible. As I mentioned, those live sessions are included. So they get 24 hours minimum of live practice sessions. And then on top of that, we have a certification exam preparation course after that they can take. So we just set ourselves apart from our competitors. It's really comparing apples to oranges when others compare us with other schools. We are accredited by the International Medical Interpreters Association. There's only 10 schools that are accredited by them. We're accredited by CCHI. We're accredited by NPEC. And so we feel very confident in our ability to prepare students, not just for a certification exam, but also for the very rigorous job of being a medical interpreter.
Wonderful.
Yes.
And it's wonderful to know as well that when you present your resume and it says MiTio on it, they know that it is legitimate. It is
Exactly.
great. They've received very rigorous training. So to succeed in the job.
You have very good reputation in the industry. That's correct.
Okay. And what changes have you made to your business strategy over the past few years?
Many, many changes, and we're constantly improving. So one of the things that I personally do is I read each and every course evaluation. So at the end of the training, students have a course evaluation that they complete, and I read each and every single one of them. I have been doing that since the beginning, and I love it because students put in their really great nuggets. Oh, specific question on a quiz, or maybe the placement of a video, or it's just amazing. But a lot of the changes that we've done, a lot of the improvements that we've done over the years were for student led changes and improvements. But specifically, as I mentioned, the diploma program. So that was a major change that we did just a couple of years ago, I believe in the beginning of 2019, because we saw, even though we offered the diploma program, students still took the lower course offering. But once we made it mandatory, we saw that the students started taking the diploma program in greater numbers because we just felt like, again, that it was in their best interest to have the more comprehensive course. If you compare us to nursing assistants, nursing home assistants, or nursing assistants, CNAs, they have to have 100 hours minimum of training. If you compare us to medical interpreters in Europe, they have to have 100 hours minimum of training. So we are undervaluing really our interpreters if we just require 40. So a lot of the changes that we've made have all been in the customers, in the students, with the students in mind, or with the industry in mind at the end of the day, the patients, the inpatient in mind.
That is great. And to what do you attribute your success?
Tenacity, never giving up. It was not a lucrative, and it's not, I would say it's not a lucrative industry to be in. It's a niche of a niche, interpreting services is a niche industry. And then you have medical interpreting, which is a smaller segment of that. And so, but it's something that I'm very passionate about. And so I'm going to stick with it. And I have a lot of persistence and tenacity. And I believe very deeply in making sure that my alumni are well prepared and also well employed. And so that's the next goal of MiTio. Our North Star is to be able to fully employ every single one of our alumni. That is our North Star. And so we're working very hard on that end, with growing our interpreting services and our translating services, and building up our clientele on that end.
Okay, so let's go to the next question. Is this product or service offered nationally, internationally? How can I enroll?
Right. So the beauty of having an online program as well, so one of the benefits of it is that it's available everywhere. So nationally, we have students from all across the nation. I believe every state has been represented in our student population, but also we have students internationally as well. We have students from Europe, from Asia, from Central America, South America. So it's beautiful. And as I mentioned earlier, it's cultures. When they're able to learn from each other, it's a beautiful thing when we see them in the live sessions interacting. It's amazing. I often said MiTio was my baby. I've given birth to 2 children and then a third with MiTio.
All right.
Yes.
So, if you had one piece of advice to someone just starting out, what would it be?
Don't give up on yourself. So oftentimes when students first start a program, they get in those live sessions and they get overwhelmed. They go, oh my goodness, I didn't know that this is what interpreting entails, or I didn't know the fast pace of it, or whatever excuse they have. I wanted to just tell those students, don't give up. There are ways to improve your memorization skills. There are ways to improve your note-taking skills. All of those things are skills that you can acquire if you work hard on it. But if you give up on yourself, you're never going to get to that end. So oftentimes, if students stick with it, they'll see their improvement week by week, month by month. By the end of that diploma program, they know, as I mentioned, they know that they're capable. But that's only for those that stick with it and actually put in the work.
Awesome.
Yes.
And where can I find out more information about MiTio?
Sure, you can go to our website, www.mitio.org. One of the beauties of our program is that we have program specialists that will walk you through every nook and cranny of our program, so you can schedule a call with them. And they'll be able to really flesh out, the reasons why you want to be a medical interpreter or a court interpreter, and really have a feel for, how you can navigate the course going forward. So we encourage everyone to schedule a call with one of our program specialists. You can do that from our website, or just, watch our webinar and learn more about us. And then we also offer a free trial as well, a 2-week free trial for those that are kind of iffy if online is for them. They can do the free trial, and it can really give them a sense of what the course is going to be like. So yeah, those are really great avenues to get started. And if you're a business that wants to do business with us, like I said, we have amazing, well-qualified alumni, and we would love to be able to meet your interpreting and translating needs. So just give us a call.
So what would you say motivates you?
I think when you find something that you're passionate about, that in itself is a motivator. So you don't have to, I have to wake up this morning, or I have to go to work. I look forward to solving a problem and getting answers to solutions. It's beautiful that I'm in an industry that that has so many challenges, if you will. I think it's a great thing because I'm one of those people that loves a good challenge. And so, there's things that as an industry, we still need to solve. For instance, certification. I want to make sure that certification becomes mandatory, not just an option. There are a lot of employers out there that they're making it mandatory, but I want it to be mandatory across the board. I want to end the use of unqualified ad hoc interpreters. And we're still seeing that till today, 2021, we're still seeing ad hoc interpreters used in healthcare. And I want to stop that. So those are challenges that give me the oomph every day to see, okay, how can we accomplish that? How can we solve that? And so I do my little part, and that keeps me motivated every morning to keep going.
Cool. And the next question is, how do you define success?
Well, I'm a Christian, first of all, and so success is accomplishing my purpose for God. So that is really my personal definition of success. I read this book called The Purpose-Driven Life a few years ago by Rick Warren, and it's a really great book. If you go through it, it really helps you, I believe. Phelps actually went through it as well. But you go through it, and it forces you, if you will, to identify what your purpose is. And then you go after your purpose. You live life on purpose. And so that's how I define success, is making sure that I accomplish the things that I believe I was put on this earth for. And everybody has a purpose. Many people just don't know what that is. And so it's just a matter of first defining it and then being courageous enough to going after it.
Yeah, your passion for helping others is very contagious.
Awesome.
Great. Which is absolutely great. And so the next question is, what has been your most satisfying moment in business so far?
Wow. I have a lot. Gosh, The most is hard to tell you, but I can tell you about a few things that I love. For instance, just a few months ago, I was a keynote speaker at a symposium. The Children's Healthcare of Atlanta had a symposium, and I had a keynote speech. I actually recorded one and then did another one uh, live for them, and then I was able to interact with the participants later. And honestly, that was like one of the happiest days I had all year, because I just love teaching. You know, my background is also in education. I was a professor for many years, which is what led me to be able to marry the two, you know, the healthcare administration and the teaching part with MiTio. So yeah, so I was able to bring all of those skill sets that I've been blessed with, and that was a wonderful opportunity to do that. So that was just the most recent way um, that I felt very fulfilled and very accomplished in my business. But there are many, many, many.
Awesome. And what would you say are the top 3 skills needed to be a successful interpreter?
So to be a successful interpreter, you do need to have the ability to learn medical terminology, lots of jargon. Whether you're a court interpreter or medical interpreter, jargon is your friend because there's lots of very specified jargon, right? And so you want to you need to know right up front that you're going to have to learn a lot of information. And successful interpreters never stop learning, all right? So they're constantly learning new things, learning about different new specializations, new ways of addressing different diseases, things like that. And so that's one of the things that we drill into our students. It's this a lifelong learning, and we teach them how to learn how different things about medical terminology and diseases and etc. Another skill set is memorization. So oftentimes I explain about our students when they join that they're overwhelmed. It's because they were never taught how to memorize things, right? And so as an interpreter, you have to take the information in, keep it there long enough to be able to decode it into another word, into another language. That is a skill. And it requires you to be able to memorize that information long enough to be able to decode it properly. And so we teach them how to do that. And so, but it's a skill, and you have to be patient with yourself as you're learning that skill. And then note taking helps, right? We teach them how to take notes so that it helps with their memorization. Um, and then the third skill, I would say, it's just interpersonal skills, because when you're in a hospital setting, even if you're a remote interpreter, you're interacting with lots of different people at lots of different levels of education. Whether it's your patient, your patient may or may not be maybe it's a child, or maybe it's an elderly patient, or maybe someone with very limited education, or you're interacting with a doctor, again, 10 plus years of education, or another healthcare provider with various levels of education. That can be very intimidating to the best of us, right? Uh, Dealing with all those levels. So you just have to be someone that is able to interact well with people. You have to be able to be respectful and cordial and have good customer service, and just have a level of confidence and poise about you. And that's why interpreting is can be a very challenging position. But those are definitely 3 things that I would encourage all interpreters to achieve, to attain to.